Hi and welcome to another episode of Delaware County Political News, Meet the Expert. Today we are here with Natalie Jordan, President of the NAACP Yeadon Branch. Natalie has been an active member of the NAACP Yeadon Branch for almost a decade, joining the branch shortly after moving to Yeadon, PA in 2006. Before being elected president in January of this year, she chaired several branch committees and also as the branch secretary. Originally from Philadelphia, PA, Natalie was also active in the college branch at her university. Natalie holds a Bachelor of Arts degree from Virginia State University and a Master of Science degree from LaSalle University. She has worked in the child welfare and mental health fields for more than 20 years. Her guiding philosophy is to honor the debt that has paid by all of those who came before and answer the call to stand up and speak out for social justice for all. The Yeadon NAACP meets every third Monday of each month at the Yeadon Public Library Annex, 809 Long Acre Boulevard, Yeadon. Natalie, welcome and thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me.
Natalie, what is the purpose and function of the NAACP?
The National NAACP, which stands for the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, has been around for more than 100 years, focusing on social justice issues for people of color. Social justice issues would include economic empowerment, educational advancement, and political representation.
What is the day-to-day or month-to-month duties and functions that the group does?
Well, typically in a month, the group will do things like host educational forums in the community or provide other types of information either through a program such as a presentation or through literature. It just kind of depends on what the focus may be for that month, or if the national office or the state office sends out an action alert asking branches to mobilize in a certain way. So we might mobilize by calling our legislators about federal or local statutes that may be up for vote in the state houses.
What is the strategic direction and plan launched by the NAACP in 2011?
Well, right now the NAACP is working to refocus its energies on specific areas, and they include political representation and voting rights. They include educational access, improving access to quality education. They include economic stability, where we're looking to help to empower people of color to start businesses or keep their money in the community. We're also looking to further engage the young people because they are going to be the leaders of the next generation, and so we are looking to engage them and bring them along to help work with what the focus is for the NAACP.
One is economic sustainability and a chance to live the American dream for all. That seems to be something that is slipping away. It is now harder for anybody to move up. That part of the American dream seems to be lost. Is that a focus or a struggle that the NAACP is focused on changing?
Oh, absolutely. We have been advocating for an increase in the minimum wage for a couple of years now, and we are grateful to all of the local municipalities that have taken it upon themselves to increase the minimum wage at least to $10. Philadelphia has done so. Here in Yeadon, they are paying a $10 minimum wage. And so while the federal government seems is unwilling to address that issue and make minimum wage a living wage, the NAACP applauds those municipalities that have done so, and we continue to push our state legislators to do the same.
Education is one of the strategic goals, a free, high-quality public education for all. What challenges does the NAACP see with obtaining that goal?
Well, there are a variety of challenges that we're facing, and these challenges haven't just started, say, this year or even 5 years ago. These challenges have kind of always been there. We always have seen a pervasive effort by certain legislators and political parties to deny access to quality educational programs. For example, in Texas, they are rewriting history books that do not include slavery, or they may kind of otherwise color things such as the Indian occupation. And so we raise concerns about textbooks in the Midwest. We also have charter schools and charter school expansion that is actually working its way through the state legislature here in Pennsylvania now. We find that shooting charter schools are significantly decreasing the resources of the public school, thereby impacting the students that are there now. And so Pennsylvania remains one of the few states that still uses property taxes to raise school funding for school districts. And so property taxes continue to go up, especially here in Yeadon. And it is definitely a hardship on those who don't earn a living wage and our seniors who are trying to keep up with consecutive year tax increases to try to recover the taxes that have been stripped away by the Republican state legislature as well as by charter school expansion.
Something that you just said floored me. You just said Texas is ignoring slavery in their history book.
Yes.
I can't imagine. First of all, are they the only state that's doing that? Before I follow up with another question.
Yeah, I believe there is another state, and it's somewhere in the Midwest, but they are interested. Texas in particular is interested in just rewriting and recoloring the historical accounts about slavery, about Indian occupation, and it's my understanding to focus more so on the greatness of America. And so when that issue came up and we learned that, Texas was looking to rewrite history, we certainly tried to motivate our members to let them know that that was completely unacceptable.
So it's not done. It's a movement to attempt to rewrite, but that hasn't taken place yet?
Well, this was a couple years ago that they started talking about rewriting their textbooks, and I really don't know about the status of it at this point. I mean, it would have been strictly up to the Department of Education in Texas to do, whatever steps they wanted to do in terms of ordering these new textbooks.
But what a gross insight into their mindset just to attempt to do that. It's something that's shaped the past 150 years of our country. To try and ignore that, we should be studying it actually more because of just that documentary that just came out, the movie 13th, that really should be shown in every school.
Yes.
Every middle school, every high school, every child should see that to know that their effects are still, to try and rewrite that is a disgrace. And not to mention the other thing that we don't like to even talk about anymore is what this country did to the Indians, Native Americans. Thank you, Natalie. The Native Americans, part of
and we're still doing to the Native Americans, considering the Dakota pipeline that the Sioux Indians tried to stop because they had a treaty stating that they, could regulate their lands, and we ignored the Native Americans once again.
Absolutely, and the point that I was going to make is we can point out a genocide in another country so easily, so fast when it happens overseas, but we want to ignore the fact that we are guilty of genocide of an entire people to the point where there's only tens of thousands left. But yet we can look at such disdain and such disgust when another country does it, but we won't recognize and we want to rewrite it out of our own history books when we are blatantly guilty of the same thing. Is the NAACP celebrating, along with the rest of the country, the defeat of the health care bill, of Trump Care?
As long as we continue to support a for-profit model, I don't think that we're going to make the advances that are necessary and ensure that they all have quality health care. We believe that health care is a right and that all citizens in this country should be covered by health care, affordable health care.
Natalie, how is the NAACP organized?
The NAACP is a national organization that has branches across this country, and the branches are organized into state conferences that represent the leadership for each state. And so the national office will reach out to state conference that will then send marching orders to the branches to let them know what our national focus is. And the flow of information goes the other way when the branches alert state conference to specific issues that are on the ground and in local communities. And so while the national office will develop overarching strategic plan and direction that we want to go, oftentimes it is actually the local branches that are identifying the specific needs in the community with education and healthcare and voting rights. And so it's the working in tandem that helps the organization to continue to be viable, as well as to bring issues, especially if we're seeing patterns of different types of issues, bringing them to the national forefront. Yeadon Branch, because of where we're situated between Philadelphia and some of the other suburban towns in Delaware County, oftentimes we will partner with Philadelphia or with the other two local branches in Darby and Sharon Hill, and to work on different projects depending on what it is. The Yeadon Branch will represent any issues that may arise in terms of social justice in Upper Darby, because there is no branch in Upper Darby, and so we would respond to any needs that may arise in that borough. But again, because we are so close to Philadelphia, a lot of issues that impact Philadelphia will tend to impact regionally here in the Southeast.
What is the southeastern influence to the NAACP?
Oh, probably the biggest one at this time is education. Like I mentioned, the charter school, there's a charter school expansion bill that is on its way back to the House for revision and a vote, and we are strongly encouraging our legislators to vote no on that legislation because it does not provide adequate oversight for charter schools and the services that they're going to be offering. The state continues to use property taxes to fund school districts. And in turn, when children leave school districts and go to charter schools, the funding that accompanies every child goes to the charter school and leaves that school district. And so school districts are left again to try to recover those resources or terminate programming because the financial resources are not there to support them. Folks are moving further and further away from the city. We're finding those resources are also going with them. And at this point, to try to find in Pennsylvania a good school district, you're going to have to start looking further and further away from the city centers.
Is it the fact that the charter schools don't have accountability, or is it the fact that they draw so many resources from the public schools is why the NAACP is opposed to them, or both for that matter?
It definitely is both. And the charter schools are not held to the same standards as the school district, and so we're asking, make those standards the same, make them the same across the board. And we are not in support of vouchers or charter school expansion for that matter, because we believe that the public schools were intended to provide the free and quality education that is stated in the Constitution that all children are entitled to, and therefore that the federal government should fix the public school system so that it works for every child and they don't need vouchers or school choice because they can attend their public school and know that their public school is providing the education that was intended. And so we saw a lot of districts losing their sports programs or their music programs or their art programs. And in addition to that, we also implemented the Keystone testing, which states that kids need to learn a specific set of information, and teachers were then thereby restricted from being able to teach just because of time constraints. Restricted based on money, they're being constricted based on content, they're being constricted based on the qualifications of their instructors. And so we see just a complete out-and-out attack on public education without any real solutions being proposed. And so we definitely want to see that there's a fair funding formula developed here in Pennsylvania that does not rely on property taxes, that it is based upon equity across school districts, where rich school districts don't have more funding available to them than poor school districts. And we also would like to see the public schools programming restored.
Does the NAACP coordinate with any other advocacy groups to advance the interests of any other protected classes or ethnicities?
While the organization is called the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, we want folks to understand that until there's social justice for everyone in this country, that everyone remains under the burden of social discrimination.
What are some of the issues that are currently facing minorities in Delaware County?
Equal representation, equal political representation. African American majority towns in Delaware County don't have the same relationship with county council as some of the other boroughs and townships do. Council has been run by one party for many years. That seems to have a significant impact on the relationships as well as the resources that seem to come to certain boroughs and townships.
How has the agenda been advancing? How has that been coming along?
Well, our agenda, while it is in place, and it certainly remains our core focus, the installment of this current presidential administration has significantly impacted the work that we do just day to day. And so, beginning with his cabinet pick, the NAACP has been extremely vocal to push back against his cabinet picks, primarily the Department of Education, that lost Senator Jeff Sessions as the Attorney General, the head of the EPA, even Senator Price. I mean, there's just been countless numbers of fronts that have been attacked simultaneously, which means that the NAACP has had to be extremely reactive to these issues that not only impact, again, persons of color, but will have a significant impact on all Americans. And hopefully we can have all Americans join us, stand up and say that we cannot tolerate unqualified individuals whose core objective is to terminate these departments that they're chairing of, or to significantly roll back regulations for these programming, such as the EPA. So we have significant concerns about this current administration. It's just waging a full-fledged attack across the spectrum of all the things that the NAACP stands for and has worked so hard to defend these past 100 years.
What specifically has been done in reaction to these cabinet picks and this administration?
Our legal department has sent letters to the administration. We are strongly against the abolishment of any of the departments of the federal government, and our members have been mobilized to individually call their state representatives to let them know so that they are voters and that they are going to be impacted specifically by any changes that can possibly be made, especially for things like health care, education, voting rights, advances regarding climate, advances regarding social justice and incarceration. And so our members will partner with other organizations that may be having rallies. We have marched on our own, and we definitely considered ourselves to be on the front lines of the assault that is taking place against the rights of all Americans and not just those of color.
Well, all America, all voting citizens owe all the members of the NAACP and its organization a debt of gratitude, because it's not just minorities that the current Trump administration is taking rights and freedoms away. It's everyone. So I encourage and applaud what the NAACP does, and we hope that it continues the fight, and we wish you and all of us the best as a current government continues to take more and more of our freedom away. It's nothing that we can take for granted anymore. The battle for independence did not end in 1789, but it's a daily struggle that we fight today. All right, Natalie, someone who is watching your interview, likes what they see, wants to get involved and wants to participate. What do they do?
Oh, absolutely. We would love to have new members. And our branch, the Yeadon Branch, works with folks from Upper Darby and Sharon Hill, all the surrounding areas. And so if you're in Yeadon or Upper Darby, we certainly encourage you to come out and work with us. We meet on the third Monday of every month in the Yeadon Library Annex at 7 p.m. We can be reached by email at 2400 secretary, all one word, at gmail.com.
Another question. Suppose that someone is an ethnicity that's not a particular protected class, is white, Caucasian, and not any oppressed group, but it wants to, nonetheless, wants to help, wants to get involved. Are they welcome with the NAACP?
Oh, absolutely, Larry. The NAACP is working to help to provide protections for all Americans. And so as history has shown us, when one group's rights are in jeopardy, democracy itself is in jeopardy.
Well, Natalie, that's all we have time for today. I want to thank you for being a guest on Delaware County Political News. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you for joining Natalie and me for this episode. I am Larry DeMarco, your host. That's all for today. Please tune in for next time.